Hello everyone and welcome to the iCode channel. Today I'm going to show you how to set up your iCode Ultimate Spinner with RetroPie. I've got a Raspberry Pi 4 here running RetroPie, and I've connected it to my spinner using this USB cable. The white cable is going right into the USB port. Then I've got a little white dongle which is for my keyboard I've connected to my RetroPie, which makes configuration easier. So if you don't have a keyboard connected, please connect one because that'll make it easy. And then this one is just my Wi-Fi adapter for network. It's not obviously necessary for this tutorial. But in order to get the spinner to work fully across all your different types of games, you want to set it up as both a gamepad and a mouse, because if you only set up gamepad, it's not going to work with spinner type games that use typically mouse interface for those. So for example, if you're playing Arkanoid and you want to be able to move back and forth really quickly and not get stuck on one end, you're going to want to set up mouse, and you got to enable mouse and bind it correctly so that those games see it. So I'm going to take you through that, but in order to get there, first we have to get RetroPie to even recognize the unit as gamepad 2. So we'll go through the gamepad setup, and then I'll show you how to set up mouse as well. So here I've got RetroPie running, and basically in order to get started, I'm going to go into the RetroPie menu system. Whatever key you use in that, depending on what kind of configuration you had. Mine is the key right above the enter key. So I'll bring the main menu up and then go down to configure input, and I'll say yes. And because I've got my spinner connected to the RetroPie, it's going to detect the gamepad detected, but it still wants to confirm which one it is, because if you've got multiple gamepads, it's going to want to know which one are you configuring. So holding the button down, it helps it do that. So I'm going to push this button and hold it, and notice that it recognized the gamepad, and now it's into the configuration menu for the gamepad itself. So what we're going to do is, actually before we go here, the rest of the way, I'm going to press the menu button here, because we got to make sure the device is configured correctly before we map anything. Because if your buttons are not set up correctly, then the whole mapping system is going to be off anyway. So I'm going to push the black button to get to the menu system, and I'll come back to the RetroPie settings in a minute. So let's go through the configuration on the device itself first, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in into the here so you can see it a little bit better, and I'm going to go back all the way to the top so we're both looking at the same thing. I'm going to try to zoom in even a little bit more so you guys can see it even better. There we go. Okay, it's going to be a little bit shaky, so pardon my setup here. I've got my preset to 2. These are different configurations you can have. It doesn't really matter whichever preset you want to use. Just pick a preset for your RetroPie settings, and I use preset 2 for my RetroPie. So in order to change presets, obviously you just push these buttons back and forth, to get to the preset number you want. So I'm going to use number 2. And then for moving the little dial, you can move the menu options up and down, right? So I'm going to go down to mode, and mode should be set to mouse plus gamepad, so mouse and gamepad, like the way I had it. Horizontal axis should be normal. Vertical axis normal. Gamepad as left. This is important because we want it to act like a left joystick on left stick on your gamepad device. So all these 4 settings are important. Mouse plus gamepad, normal, normal, left. Then recentering, make sure it's set to no. Mouse movement should be mouse as should be movement. Display, I like it on animated. It doesn't really matter. I don't need to show display. Position, volume is just your speaker. Minigame should be off. This is important here. So if you're on the top and you had mouse and gamepad here, the next one should also say mouse and gamepad. So just make sure it is set for mouse and gamepad. so that's correct. Axis should be on horizontal. Acceleration, I like it on none, so I recommend you keep it on none for most MAME games. You can make changes to this later on, but follow me for now for this video. Same thing with sensitivity. I like it on very high because that's going to give us the best feel for the spinner. And then this area is very important. So for button settings, press the button. And let's go through each of the button settings. I'm going to go all the way to the top. So my big button, which is big bottom button, that's this one. So that one is button 0. Then the middle button, the big one here, is button 1. Green, I've got it as button 3. Red is button 2. Blue is button 4. Axis is yellow is axis, and that's important because I'll show you that later on. If it's not on axis, just press the buttons like this and go through them all until you get to axis, right? Like that. All right. And then we got right on button 8 and left on button 9. Okay. And then these are important because you don't want to press both gamepad buttons and mouse buttons at the same time. So change all these to none. So big bottom should be none, middle none, green none. So all of these should be none. All the mouse buttons should be none. And then rapid fires, make sure they're all off. Okay. All right. And the lights doesn't really matter. Once you've got that set up, press the black button and we're back to here. Don't press anything because RetroPie is on the screen already. Let me go back there. Okay. So we're back to where we were. So it's waiting for us to push D-pad up. We don't have a D-pad, we only have an analog control, so we want to skip this. And the way you skip it is just push the arrow key down on your keyboard. So skip, I'm going to push down arrow. Then we're going to get to start. This is going to be very important because we're going to need these keys. Start and select will be used later. So it's important to map them. So start, I'm going to use this right button here. Oops, I was in the menu. Let me leave the menu. Okay, start button is going to be, when I press it, it's going to show you that button 8 that we had. Then select, I want to do this left button. It's going to be button 9. And then button A is going to be my big button. Button B is going to be this one. And then button X, I'm going to use this green one. And button Y, I'm going to use the red one. And then left shoulder, I'm going to skip by pushing down arrow on the keyboard. Same thing with all these until we get to left analog up. This is important. So when we go to left analog up, what you want to do is hold that yellow button down because that's our axis, because normally this is going to be left and right, the dial. But we want it to be up and down too. So that yellow button that we set to access earlier controls that. So if you hold it, it's like a shift key. You hold it down and then you're going to go ahead and spin counterclockwise and back. And it should pick it up. It did not pick it up for me. If it didn't pick it up, go back, up arrow, like I just did, and then try again. Sometimes it takes a few times. Notice it picked it up as access 1 minus. That's correct. Okay, because minus means the up direction. Down is the plus direction, okay? And then analog down, I'm going to hold this button down again and then do right. There it is. So now I've got 1 plus. And then you let go of the yellow button. And then for analog left, we're going to just spin it counterclockwise and then back. There we go. And then analog right, spin it clockwise and back. If it doesn't pick it up, do it again. Sometimes it takes multiple tries and different amounts of spinning, but there it goes. So I picked it up as axis 0 plus. Then right analog we have not used, so we're going to skip all these and then go down all the way to OK and hit enter on your keyboard and then click yes, which is enter basically. That's going to be very important. And that's it. Now our device is set up for gamepad. We have not set up mouse yet, but gamepad is going to be functional. Okay, so just to see, we're going to leave the menu, and now if I move to the right, you'll see the menu will move to the right. If I move to the left, menu will move to the left, so we know this is working. And then, so for example, if I go to arcade right here, it's a little bit sensitive, so you got to go and come back because it's not meant for a gamepad, obviously. But if I hit the big button, it's going to go here, and then my back button is going to be button B, and it's going to go back. So we know both buttons are working. And then once you're in the game, remember we did start and select was our side buttons here. So let's go ahead and go to Arkanoid, because that's an important one that a lot of people want to play with Spinner. So I'm going to go to Arcade. I've installed a lot of the games here, so Arkanoid World. I'm going to go ahead and start that process until the game comes up. And this is where you're going to see, most likely, Arkanoid's going to see the device as a gamepad, and your paddle will probably not work correctly. But let's give it a shot and see. I know a lot of people get stuck here because the paddle will go to one end of the screen and kind of get stuck because it thinks you got a gamepad attached, and Arkanoid's not really designed to be played with a gamepad. So that's why we need to set it up for mouse. My RetroPie is a little bit slow here. There it goes. Okay. It saw my gamepad. I saw it blink there. That's RetroArch. Okay, so let's give ourselves some credit. Remember, select and I set up select on the left side, so that's typically what your credit key is going to be. And then start button is going to be the right button here. So there it goes. That's the start button. So now let's see. Moment of truth. I doubt this is going to work, but we can see. Actually, look at that. It's working. Okay, so you're going to say, hey, it's working for you, but it's not working for me. Why? Well, I was in here earlier, probably, and I did the configuration, and I didn't think I saved it, but I must have saved it. So it's already configured to use mouse, and that's why it's working quite well, actually. So I can move left and right pretty nicely and quickly. Okay, so if it's not working for you, and you end up, the paddle goes to one end and kind of gets stuck, that means mouse is not set up for that game, and RetroArch in general. So we got to configure RetroArch to see your mouse. And the way we do that is two things. One is you're going to hold down your select key and press this green button, which we mapped to X earlier. Remember, we when it was asking for a button to X, I pressed the green. So that's going to bring you into this RetroArch menu. Okay, so select and then X, which is your green button. So select for us was this, and green was, so that'll get it in this menu. Okay, so now that you're in here, you're going to use the keyboard, and you're already in the quick menu. So I'm going to use backspace is for my back button, or you can, I guess probably, yeah, we can use this top button, which is our B button, which is back. So you can push the top button to go one menu up out of quick menu, and you're going to go down to settings. Okay, I'm going to hit enter, and then under input, so go to input and hit enter, and then under RetroPad binds, then port 1 controls, hit enter. Okay, so here's where most people have trouble. You'll see that the device index, for some reason, the RetroPie saw my device as Hujai USB gamepad. Some people report that it sees it as a PS3 controller. It doesn't matter. Whatever gamepad device index it is, make sure your mouse index is also the same. Notice if I go in here, there's a couple of different mouses. If you got maybe, originally before you connected the iCode Ultimate, you had a different gamepad or a mouse that was connected, it may have defaulted to that. So if it's here, for example, it's not going to work. the Arkanoid is going to do exactly what we were talking about before. In fact, let me come out of here so you can see it. I'm going to push the B button back a couple of times, and then get to the quick menu, and then resume. And then I'm going to start so you can see, if I have it on the wrong binding, it's probably not going to do what you may have been experiencing. Yeah, see, now it's not moving at all. And for some people it's going to actually move, but it's going to move all the way to the right and left. I know why mine's not doing it, but as you can see, now it's not even seeing the mouse. So that's definitely the problem. So I'm going to go back into RetroArch again. So again, it was the green button and the select button at the same time. And we're going to go, as I said, push the B button to go out of the quick menu, down to, by the way, notice a little line on the top. That's the mouse moving back and forth. So that tells me, the mouse is actually being seen. And in fact, if you hold the yellow button down and move it, you'll see your crosshair comes down. So RetroPie is seeing the mouse. So that's what that little white bar is on the very top. Some people were asking me about that. But anyway, back to where we were. So we came out of the quick menu. We went to settings. Now that I moved the mouse, it's okay. So I'm going to go to settings. And under input, RetroPad binds, port 1 controls, mouse index. So this is the one we wanted on the same as the gamepad. Okay, so this is going to get you set up correctly for the mouse index. There may be one more step, so don't get too excited if it still doesn't work for you. So you set this up, then we're going to push the B button to come out of that menu, B again, B again, B again, until we get to main menu, go up to quick, well actually, you know what, I forgot to save. So go to settings, and then under input, not under input, sorry, not under here, under configuration files. So on the main menu, configuration file, save current configuration. That's going to save it, so next time you restart your RetroPie, it's going to remember that mouse setting that we just changed. Okay, so if you don't save it, then you'll like, oh my gosh, what happened? Why did it stop working? So make sure you save it. All right. Then I'm going to go back to. I think we're done with RetroArch. Now we're going to go back to quick menu and resume the game. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and start, and it's going to work again. But if it doesn't work for you, then I'll show you the last setting that you need to check. Okay, so let's see if it works. Yep, it's working very nicely now. You can adjust that, once you get it working, then you can go ahead and change your acceleration to make it even more faster, left and right. All those things can be configured. Okay, so if it didn't work for you for some reason still, what you want to do is push tab on your keyboard, and that'll bring up the MAME menu, the MAME menu. Okay, under input this game, so if you could push down arrow, go to input this game, and here sometimes your dial setting is not set up. So notice how mine is set up for RetroPad left. Well, that's because I had configured it both before. For a lot of people, this will be ... In fact, if you're here, I'm trying to remember how do we clear it. If you hit enter and then push delete twice, I think. Yeah. If you push delete twice, it'll clear it to the original defaults. So yours might have ... or none or something else. If it's not working, then what you want to do is you want to hit enter, and then while it's here empty, you want to go ahead and move your dial. Okay. Didn't quite do it. There it goes. Actually, delete. We go in there and clear it one more time. Delete. Okay, now it's good. So RetroPad 1 left is what it should be on. And as I mentioned, you can go in here and I think it's once it's configured, it does not want to reconfigure to the same thing, which is fine. But you know, if you hadn't configured before, it would have just said RetroPad left, and you would be done. Kind of like that. Now that's there, I'm going to push tab again, and your mouse should work perfectly. So give that a shot. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below, and I'll be happy to help. Hope that helps. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.